Hi, this is Melissa Del Vecchio from Robert A.M. Stern Architects, and you're listening to U.S. Modernist Radio.
Mama don't allow no architecture around here. Mama don't allow no architecture around here. Oh, I don't care what Mama don't allow, gonna draw mine modern anyhow. Mama don't allow no architecture around here.
Welcome to U.S. Modernist Radio, where we talk and laugh with people who enjoy, own, create, dream about, preserve, love, and hate modernist architecture, the most exciting and controversial buildings in the world. I'm Tom Guild. Joining us today is architect and furniture designer David Thompson, founder and principal designer at Assemblage Plus in Los Angeles. Later, we'll visit with today's musical guest, Louise Cappy. Then our own Gen Z correspondent, TikTok sensation Louisa Whitmore, talks about the Stall House. And now, the guy who thinks TikTok means hurry up, Mr. Modernism, George Smart.
Thanks, Tom. I mean, first it was Facebook, then it was Instagram, and Snapchat and WhatsApp had a brief heyday, but it's TikTok now. I do have a TikTok account because, hey, I'm not a Flintstone, but man, you really got to commit to do social media channels right. Now, a lot of the influencers out there are ridiculous, but some are laughing all the way to the bank. Every week, there's one buying a $5 million modernist house in L.A. somewhere. I watched one stupid video today about a guy throwing water on what appears to be a translucent frog. Then this same guy, jackass style, throws water on his wife in a similar manner, and she does not like it. But hey, maybe wife watering is a thing now. I don't know.
I think so. But
It takes real dedication and a lot of hours to create good content. I could not be more proud of our team here at U.S. Modernist Radio. Tom, of course, is co-host and works the magic of post-production.
And I stay in a separate room so you can't throw water on me.
Rogue archivist Carrie Cesarino researches our guest, except now she has a new assistant, Kelly Policelli. There's you, our 12 wonderful listeners, who email and call and message and TikTok and even occasionally send me postcards, the mid-century modern standard of communication. And of course, the people who keep the lights on, Diane Bald and the Budman family, restoring significant architecture in Toronto, Los Angeles, Malibu, and Palm Springs, and modernist realtor Angela Roll.
In a classic tale that we are largely making up, modernist realtor Angela Roll worked her way through college, dancing like no one's watching to Mambo No. 5 and brilliantly house-flipping Neutra houses, sometimes simultaneously. At 22, following a celebrity-filled party at a famous hillside modernist house in Los Angeles involving late-night swimming, fig-infused goat cheese, absolute lime, and a new use for WD-40, Angela was recruited to architecture school. There, she spent years in sleep-deprived design studios. Now she's a modernist real estate agent with specialized design training, advising buyers and sellers on everything, from appropriate renovation to staging a martini party for 200 people from 2,800 miles away. That last sentence is 100% true. Reach her at angelaroll.com. That's ROEHL, or call 919-995-0550. Going back as far as Neutra and Schindler, it has always been hard as an architect to specialize in houses, and even harder to specialize in modernist houses. Clients, even the most forward-thinking, collaborative, affluent clients, are time-consuming. Consider that for the same amount of time, you could design a 120,000 square foot office building for a much bigger fee. So those architects who are prolific with modernist houses and do it well are hard to find, and we love them.
Toshiko Mori, Annabelle Seldorf, Rick Joy, and past podcast guests Tom Kundick and Will Bruder are in this league. And with them, today's guest, architect and furniture designer David Thompson of Assemblage Plus in Los Angeles. The son of architect Richard Thompson, David worked for Syndesis and Lorcan O'Herlihy before establishing Assemblage in 1997. David's houses are classic California modernism, and if you want him to design your new house, you can lure him with sushi and a freshly made Manhattan. Actually, you'd want that sushi fresh too, just saying. Welcome, David.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Now, before we get started, I know you're into baseball and that you're a huge Dodgers fan. But how mad are you at the Astros?
Oh, I still don't think I'm ever going to get over that.
What did they do to earn your wrath?
They cheated. They totally cheated, and they didn't get in trouble for it. Or they got in trouble for it, but they really didn't get, COVID kind of gave them a pass, and they didn't really have a season to kind of come and, let the fans really let them have it. So, and they took that series from the Dodgers, and so it's something that I'll never let go of.
Now, was this a doping thing or like filling the bat with cork? What did they do?
No, they were cheating on signals.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
They were doing all these kind of crazy, elaborate ways of giving signals to their batters of what kind of pitches were coming, and it gives them a huge advantage. So it was pretty devastating.
But I mean, isn't it okay for you to use signals if everybody on your team understands what they mean, or were they stealing the signals from?
That's exactly right. They were stealing the signals
From the Dodgers.
Yeah, and from everybody, not just from the Dodgers, from everybody. And
so they were tapping phone lines.
They were, well, I don't exactly know how elaborate it was, but there were scenes of so imagine if you're standing at the plate and a 95-mile-an-hour fastball is coming, and then a 60-mile or 70-mile-an-hour curveball comes. If you are ready and aware that a 90-mile-an-hour fastball is coming, and then or that a 70-mile-an-hour is coming, when you're set up for 90, that's an easy pitch to hit if you know it's coming. And they were banging on trash cans and doing all kinds of crazy things to let them know when these pitches were coming. So the batters were really, really prepared.
That doesn't sound like a very sophisticated model if they're banging on trash cans. I
think that was probably the least sophisticated of them, but there was a lot of shady stuff going on.
Yeah, well, when they start putting chips into ball players' heads, it'll be
there
easier.
We go. Yeah.
Exactly.
Then the game will really have gone to hell.
How are the Dodgers going to do this season?
Well, they just picked up Freeman from the Atlanta Braves, so, it seems like the Dodgers have a never-ending budget that they can spend, and they're going to get what they need. They're going to pay for what they need and get the players they need, and I don't know, they look good. They look like they're going to be real good this season.
Now, with your love for baseball, David, I'm thinking surely in your spare time you've sketched out a stadium. Have you?
I have not, but I've thought about it. But it's like most things in architecture. That's a pretty specialized thing, and I'm really impressed by a lot of that scale architecture that's going on. But sad to say, I've never sketched one out, but certainly would love to get that opportunity. But it's a different scale than what we do for sure. But
it could be a small one. It could be like a little league stadium or a little college stadium. I mean,
for sure,
that could be your new wheelhouse.
I would love it. So any of you people out there listening that would have a stadium for us to design, give us a call. We'd be happy to be involved.
As long as they have sushi and Manhattans.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
That's right. Those two have to be included.
You've been involved in furniture as well. What were some of your early furniture creations?
Well, furniture was a very interesting part of the start of my career, because when I came out of school at Tulane University, we were still drawing everything by hand at that time, and the computers were really limited. So you had to have the kind of skills. And I was around architecture as you may know. My dad, as you mentioned, Richard Thompson, my father, was an architect. And so I grew up around, architecture my whole life. But my dad was a prolific artist, just was an amazing talent with his hand. And I had to really learn how to draw, and I learned how to draw in architecture school. So it didn't come so naturally for me. So when I was in school and we were deliberate about putting pencil and lines on paper to kind of represent buildings and plans and elevations and drawings and things like that, for me, I was really learning that, and so I got into furniture design at the sort of tail end of my architecture career at school, and what it did for me was it really brought the scale of design back into something that I could hold in my hands. So then I could hold a detail of a piece of furniture in my hand, and then I could understand the lines that I was putting on paper. So it was really, for me, it was a way to kind of drop the scale of the design element, and it helped me at that stage of my career to then start upping the scale as I got out of school and really understanding, the lines that went on paper and what that meant. And then it was also something that was, at that time for me, early in my career when I got out of school, it was also a place where I had this entrepreneurial fire inside me that I didn't really quite know about, but furniture was a place where I could get clients, my first year out of school and feed that entrepreneurial spirit. So furniture was just a kind of gateway in for me into both the design world as well as the entrepreneurial part of where I'm at in my practice now.
What were your favorite pieces to design, furniture-wise?
Well, let's see. I mean, I still have a couple of pieces lingering around my house that have kind of traveled with me all over the years. I've got a couple coffee tables that I really like and some end tables. But, that was also happening. My first job out of school was with David Hertz at Synthesis, and he was making lightweight concrete. So at that time, I was in his office and he was doing all this concrete work. And so concrete was a kind of big part of the pieces at that time. And but there's a lot of them that they were all kind of a part of the path of where I got to today. So I have a love for all of them, actually.
Did you ever try to start a line of your own? Because it seems like that industry runs pretty hot and cold. I mean, you're either Prada or you're Target.
Yeah, I did. I actually did. I thought back then, if I had a crystal ball, I would have thought that furniture would have been that component that was really where assemblage was, because we developed a line at that time of different pieces. But what I learned about it was it's a very difficult marketplace, because you're either the sort of IKEAs of the world or you're the B&B Italia, and the middle ground. While there is a middle ground, it's a tough business, and I think you've got to have production capabilities for really, really large quantities and things like that. I think it's a really tough business, and I learned really quickly that it was a very tough business. And so, while we were pursuing it, we've sort of discovered that it was quite challenging. And I realized that some of the most important things at that kind of level of furniture is like, it's got to be broken down, it's got to be easily put together by somebody, and it's got to be able to be broken down and be shipped. Because you could have the most beautiful custom piece of furniture, but if it costs more to ship it, or it's more difficult to ship it because you've made this sculptural piece that you've put together and can't be disassembled, it really limits the marketplace.
Yeah, people don't realize what shipping adds to some of the furniture, particularly the larger stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Till they move.
Totally.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then when you kind of look at that and you break that down, you look at a company like IKEA and you're blown away. I mean, they've broken their system down into something that like breaks down into a flat pack box that fits in anybody's trunk, and then has an instruction manual that's in, every language on the planet.
With the Allen wrench inside, yeah.
Yeah, and 3 tools that are needed. And it's pretty fascinating.
With architecture, modernism is your signature style, and you've really made what some people consider cold modernism much warmer.
Yeah. Yep. We really like that niche. And I think what we're doing is we're really just kind of expanding on what Californian modernism is all about, and it's really kind of an accessible architecture. I think, it's really connected to its environment and to its nature and to the natural environment around it. But I think it's meant to be accessible. It's meant to be kind of warm and inviting and accessible to everyone. And I think that's what we're really trying to exploit, is that connectivity with the natural surroundings, and then kind of applying the warm palettes and things like that to really kind of make it inviting and comfortable and the way living should be.
It seems like a lot of that in the houses I've seen of yours online is accomplished through different types and colors of wood.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wood is one of my favorite materials. It's alive, it's warm, it's tactile, and it just brings a real kind of natural sensibility in the palette. So we use it a lot, and we just find it to be one of the pieces that kind of really brings a warmth and an accessibility to the projects.
Usually, David, in architecture, the son works for the father. But in 2013, your dad joined the firm as principal of urban design. My question is, What had you give this young man a chance?
Well, it's a great question. And yeah, it is a different twist on the story of father and son. It was really, Richard has always been my greatest resource in everything architecture since I presented interest back when I was 15. So he was, always my greatest resource. I would always go to him for everything. And so while our paths were very different, he was at a scale, an urban design scale that was just, way different than what I was doing, especially when I was involved in furniture. I'm dealing with reveals between cabinetry and countertops, and he's dealing on urban city plans and university campus master planning and things like that. So the scale was very different, but we always talked about the idea of working together and how fun that would be. And for many years, my father had his own practice, and then he moved on to A.C. Martin, where he spent a number of years there. And he reached a point in his career there where he'd sort of kind of gotten over the corporate world and kind of ready to kind of pull away from there and just do some consulting and stuff like that. And I turned to him and I was like, well, why don't you just come and consult here and finish out your career at Assemblage and, work as hard or as little as you want, and we'll go after whatever kind of work, master planning work you're able to conjure up, and then we'll take that and see if we can push that into some other realms, and it'll be a great way to end your career. And so that's what we did. And for a number of years, he's been here, and we've had a real joy working together. And it's been a great gift for me to give to him. And then I got the gift of all of his incredible knowledge and having him close to me. It was beautiful, and I'm so happy I was able to do it.
Now, as an adult, when you're driving through neighborhoods, you're doing something that used to annoy you as a child when your dad did it.
That's right.
What is that?
I can't, I look at every building and everything in the urban environment that, is exactly what my dad did when he was driving me to baseball practice when I was a kid, and it drove me nuts. But I find myself doing the same thing. I think I'm driving my kids bananas too.
Wait, are you slowing down and stopping in front of buildings and houses?
Oh, sure he is. Of course.
I've been known to do that.
Dad?
Yeah, I've been known to do that.
Why are we stopping, Dad?
Exactly. And I think it drives them crazy. But at the same time, I think it was something for me. I mean, at the moment, when you're at that stage of your youth, you don't really kind of understand it. You're so focused on yourself. But I think over the years, I'm looking at the world. I'm looking at the built environment. I'm looking at the urban environment. I'm looking at the natural environment as well. And I think that was really because that's what my dad taught me to do, is to look at the world and look at those parts of the world and look at them with an open eye and look at them with curiosity and seeking knowledge about all that. And so I think that, at some point I realized kind of what he was doing, and it opened my eyes to keep looking around and learning. And I think that, I could see my kids having a similar path in that regard of just being open-minded and always looking around to gain knowledge from what's around you.
Yeah, they can just pass the annoyances forward to another generation.
as they should, and as they will.
Now, David, do you build your houses too?
Well, we're not contractors. We're not a design build firm.
Okay.
We have built a number of our projects. The most recent one was the Laurel Hills residence, which is my own house. We built that on our own. A dear friend who's been in my office for over 10 years basically asked him if he wanted to help me build it, and I parked him on site for a couple of years, and we built it together, and it was a great journey. But in the same spirit as the furniture, being a contractor and being in construction is a different animal than just doing architecture work. So I don't think it was the last project we built, but I don't know that we're interested in being a design build firm for sure. I think it just depends. I think we'll probably build more projects, but I'm definitely not interested in being a contractor where we're building work of other architects. I'd only want to build my own projects, that's for sure.
Now, when your clients get to the stage where they need a builder, how do you advise them? I mean, I don't know how it is out in L.A., but in North Carolina, every contractor will say they can build a modernist house, but that turns out really not to be true. It's a really different skill set.
It definitely is. And we have a lot of really talented builders here in Southern California that are capable of doing this kind of work because there's a lot of it going on here. So there are a lot of talented builders. And what we tell our clients is it's just like the architecture profession. It's also about relationship, right? Meeting somebody and getting connected with somebody who you can build a relationship with and trust. And you have to go off of what kind of work they've done previously and talk to people that have worked with them to understand their process and things like that. So it's not just about the least expensive price. It's about, somebody who cares about what they're doing and has a passion for building good architecture. That's what we look for in the people that we connect with, is we're looking for people that are interested in the same way we're interested in designing good buildings, are interested in building good buildings. So we try to collaborate with people that are like-minded in that way.
One of your projects was the restoration of Rafael Soriano's 1951 Curtis Stone Canyon House. What were some of the challenges in doing that project?
Well, we're still in the challenge as we speak, but we are about to pull the permit. We've gone through a pretty lengthy process of approvals on that. But it was a fascinating project that we're super excited to be getting under construction here shortly. It's a very interesting house. So it was the Curtis residence from 1951 by Rafael Soriano. And then it was added on to in the 90s by a firm who was hired by Alvin Toffler, who wrote the very famous book
Future Shock. Yes.
Yeah. So he did a remodel. It was a nice remodel, but it was very 90s. And they built a library for Alvin's collection with a east-facing sloped glass roof, which just is like a hot box. It just melts the library. The Curtis residence has been kind of layered over a number of times. And so our clients bought this house. They were very interested in the idea that it had these mid-century roots to it. They wanted to add some more square footage to it. So we've been trying to uncover the Soriano and kind of bring part of the house back to its it's not a restoration by any stretch, but we're trying to bring the sensibilities that Soriano was doing with this particular house and then add on to it with the modern sensibilities that we believe would be continuing to carry that Soriano sensibility that was originally designed in it. And it's been a lot of fun, and we'll see. It'll be very interesting when we get into the construction part of it, because it was built in 1951, and it's had a lot of layers kind of put over top of it, and so we're going to delicately try and strip some of those layers back and make it into a modern home that will kind of carry the legacy of the Soriano sensibility forward into the modern day. So we're really super excited about it.
I remember in junior high school, they showed the movie Future Shock. And the big controversial scene of the whole film that everyone talked about was this depiction of a gay wedding. This was in the 70s in this movie. And everyone was all abuzz like, oh, my God, that could never happen. Oh, my gosh, we'll never see that happen. And, this was him predicting this in the 60s and 70s.
That's so amazing.
So lots of stories in that house.
Yes, lots of stories. And, again, we're just excited to be another chapter in the history of it. We're trying to carry on the legacy.
Now, your own house is very beautiful. I love the glass hallways and the landscaping. How was it to be your own client, or was your wife, Jamie, really the client here?
Well, I mean, she's the best. My wife is amazing in that she has really become a real patron of our work, and she is a lover of modernism and has really been instrumental in kind of building that for us. And so she's an amazing client. She really let me do what we needed to do, and she had her say when she wanted it, but she really let us go and believes in us and believes in modernism and believes in what we're doing, and just an incredible patron for us. I think the hardest part about being your own client is the obsessiveness around it was the hard part to kind of deal with.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, to do this profession, there's a bit of obsessiveness in it because you never put these things down. You don't go to design a house and sit down with some paper in front of you and make some lines and then walk away and go about your life. you're constantly thinking about it. You're always thinking about these projects. All the projects on our boards, I'm constantly going in and out of thinking of various things will kind of spark your thought process at any point in time. So it's not really compartmentalized into the 8-hour day. It's just you're in it all the time. And when it's your own house, I think it's just for whatever reason that is, it's just doubled. And then all the houses that I've done for ourselves is usually we live on the property. It's usually a house that we're going to either significantly remodel or tear down. And so you're actually living on the property during the design process. So I found myself in these places where, maybe a night where I would work sort of late and I'd be really involved in the design process, and then it'd be time to go to sleep, and I would go to sleep and I go close my eyes and just be dreaming about the design process, and then kind of wake up and be in the actual space that you're thinking of. So I found that sometimes that was hard to kind of turn off, but that's part of the process. So
You're just thinking about it all the time.
You can't stop. It's a bit of a disease sometimes.
Your firm has also, in addition to residences, done a lot of restaurant work. What are some of today's restaurant design trends, and how have those been affected by the pandemic?
Oh, boy, that's a great question. I think we're still learning what the effects of the pandemic are going to do on many sectors. But hospitality, we've been involved in the hospitality restaurant world for a while, and we enjoy it a lot. We bring a lot of the sort of residential sensibilities to our restaurants, really trying to bring a warmth and accessibility to these spaces to make them feel really comfortable when people are there. But I think it'll be very interesting. I think we're noticing a lot of to-go businesses are kind of pretty insane for restaurants now, which puts a different type of strain on the kitchen and the operational staff as they kind of work around to deal with that when they're dealing also with, all the patrons in the restaurants. I think it's interesting to see a lot of these makeshift outdoor spaces that restaurants are getting now. As a result of the pandemic, so that they can be outside, which has also kind of increased their capacities and things like that. So we'll see how those stick around. But, people love being out. They love being social. They love, food. And I love the culinary arts. I'm fascinated by it. I'm fascinated by the difference, the sort of very stark difference between the process that we go through and the design and construction of architecture versus what goes on in the culinary world and how immediate it is. A chef goes to the market in the morning and buys their ingredients and goes into the kitchen and preps it and cooks it and serves it. And then the experience happens and then it evaporates and it's gone and they do it again the next day. And it's so foreign to what we do. Our process is so elongated, and then the final product we hope lasts forever, or for certainly a long period of time. So I find that to be really fascinating, and I love it. And then I love being involved in the design process for that art, in the creation of space for the experience of that art. I really enjoy it.
Well, we've tried to encourage you to design a baseball stadium. I want to ask you about another place that you like. Tell our listeners about your favorite hotel, the Modernist Amangiri in Canyon Point, Utah, part of the worldwide Aman Resorts.
Well, I can only speak about it in my research of it. I have yet to go there. It's definitely on my bucket list to check out. But from what I see of it, it just looks like such an amazing place to be. I'm dying to go there, and it seems like it's just so well connected with its environment, and that you really just get an incredible experience of being connected with its surrounding environment. And I'm dying to go there, so I can't wait to get the opportunity to go there.
Well, you need to get a move on here, David, because I could see you, once you go, pitching the Aman people on a resort project that you could design.
I would be honored, and I think we would make a good addition to their team. So that would be a lot of fun. But I'm dying to get there because it looks like a really special place that just honors and has a real incredible sense of place.
It's kind of in the middle of nowhere, Utah.
It is in the middle of nowhere, Utah.
It's in Canyon Point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's the Amangiri, Amangiri.
Giri.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can Google it
Yeah.
and see these modernist buildings that make up the resort in this spectacular desert scenery.
Yeah, I've been to that region before, and it's just incredible. It's, the natural environment there of just, all the landforms and the desert there is just, it's spectacular. And so from what I've seen, it looks like that building just, or buildings really kind of just blend in with their environment and really, make the experience about the environment. And so it looks really incredible. So based on the number of your listeners, maybe I should get out there as soon as possible because maybe they're going to be listening and they're going to call soon.
I think so. I think you better get your homework done, David.
I think you're right.
Now, last question to finish this as we started. If you, David Thompson, were the baseball commissioner, how would you change the sport?
Well, I'm kind of a purist, and I love the sport for that purity. I have to say, I'm pretty disappointed that they're thinking about using the designated hitter in, it used to be that the American League did the designated hitter and the National League let the pitchers hit.
Right.
And I never liked that rule at all. I think all the pitchers should hit. And I think right now they're talking about bringing the designated hitter to the National League, and I think it's a mistake. I think the pitchers should have to hit.
Okay.
Anything else?
I'm with you.
No, I'm just I'm honored and humbled by being included with all the amazing people that you talk to, and I'm honored that you guys asked me to come talk.
Well, thanks so much, David. It's been great talking with you.
Always. Appreciate it very much.
That was our conversation with LA architect David Thompson.
Louise Cappy is a New Orleans-based singer-songwriter, the daughter of legendary jazz guitarist Al Cappi. After singing with her dad, she moved on to gospel while she was in college, and from there, her repertoire continued to expand to blues, R&B, and cabaret in New Orleans and New York.
Louise and her band, Soul Expo, packed the house on weekends at her Mahogany Jazz Hall residency in New Orleans, Louisiana. She received global rave reviews on her debut album, Melange, and her second album is Hope, released in 2021. Welcome, Louise.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So tell us about your dad and growing up with him and music.
Oh, wow, yeah. It was all about the music. I grew up on Long Island, and my dad was a very well-known jazz guitarist. He was a pioneer of the seven-string guitar. He also worked with George Van Epps, who was the inventor of the seventh string, and they were very good friends, and the two of them developed the George Van Epps method of teaching.
Of teaching guitar?
Yes, the George Van Epps method of teaching, the seventh string.
Okay.
And what else? He, of course, worked in nightclubs. He toured with a lot of big bands in the early days. He toured with Fred Waring Orchestra and Paul Whitman when he was very young, and then recorded with the Jackie Gleason Orchestra. He had quite a prolific career. And growing up with him, it was just normal. We had people like Bucky Pizzarelli at our house, jamming, folks like that. And so to me, it was just normal.
I know John Pizzarelli.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen him play. So I assume that must be Bucky's son?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. How was your band formed, Soul Expo?
Well, it's interesting in New Orleans because many nights it's just you call somebody or the day before and, you say, you want a gig tomorrow night? All right, you're part of Soul Expo.
Right.
But a lot of times I had the same musicians, and I just called people I knew in the city, and we worked together a lot. And my favorite musicians and the ones that were more familiar with my repertoire, those are the ones I would call on a regular basis. And we made great music. We had a lot of fun. If somebody was on tour or out of town or had some other gigs coming up, then I would just call somebody else.
Here's Louise and Soul Expo in Talk to Me.
Talk to me. Tell me what's on your mind. Talk to me. Just let yourself unwind. Talk to me. Oh, baby, talk to me. When I'm in your arms, you whisper sweet and low. You're laying on the charm. Oh, say you won't let go. Talk to me. Tell me what's on your mind. Talk to me. Just let yourself unwind. Talk to me. Oh, baby, talk to me. The way you take your time makes me feel so fine. Our bodies move real slow. That's when I lose control. Talk to me. Tell me what's on your mind. Talk to me. Just let yourself unwind. Talk to me. Oh, baby, talk to me. Talking with you, the time moves by so fast. When I'm talking with you, I want the night to last. Talking with you, the time moves by so fast. And when I'm talking with you, I want the night to last. Oh, baby, talk to me. Tell me what's on your mind. Talk to me. Just let yourself unwind. Talk to me. Oh, baby, talk to me. Talk to me. Tell me what's on your mind. Talk to me. Just let yourself unwind. Talk to me. Oh, baby, talk to me. Oh, talk to me. Tell me what's on your mind. Talk to me. Let's have a glass of wine. Talk to me. Oh, baby, talk to me. Talk to me. Oh, baby, talk to me. Talk to me. Oh, baby, talk to me. Talk to me. Oh, baby, talk to me.
That's great, Louise.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
It's like Dance With Me, too.
That's from Melange. That's the debut album. So, yeah, I haven't listened to that in a while. That was fun. Great musicians. Oh, my God. That piano player, Jenna McSwain.
Uh-huh.
She was incredible.
Did you record that in New Orleans?
Mm-hmm. Yepper. That's, I have a studio that I record with all the time. Tim Stambaugh, who is a great engineer, and I trust him a lot with recording.
Louise, we've had a lot of guests on the show who do other things, and you have a degree in theology and have worked as a chaplain.
Yes.
And you're doing that currently, right?
Well, you know what? We stopped with COVID.
Okay.
But for 2 years before COVID, I did it. I was there at the hospital 3 times a week.
And what does a chaplain do in a hospital?
Well, a chaplain is a lay minister. So a lot of times you'll have chaplains in the Army, in jails, in situations, hospitals. And what a chaplain does is we would go see the patients and visit with them. So it was an interfaith program. So it wasn't just for Christians or, we had Jewish patients, we had Muslim patients, we had all kinds. And the main thing about visiting with them was to, if they were up to it, let them talk, tell their story.
I would think you do a lot of listening.
Exactly. And then, of course, there's a protocol of questions to ask that we were taught in our training.
And I have heard that at times they would ask you to sing to them.
Yes.
Oh.
That must be lovely.
Yeah. Not all of them, but there are a few times when I could get to sing with them, and it was miraculous. It was magical. It was really fun. It was healing. It was great.
It must give people a lot of hope.
It does. And that was one of the questions we would ask, is what gives you hope? What motivates you to get out of the hospital? And some people would say seeing my grandkids or just to be home. Multiple answers depending on what their illness was. The hardest ones for me was in the oncology unit, but I was thankful to be able to bring some comfort or try to bring some comfort to them. It was a great experience.
Here's Louise with the title track from her latest album, Hope.
Hope is a song in the night. Hope guides you from the darkness to the light. Fills the heart that longs to be whole. Hope is the anchor of the fear-driven soul. What is hope? It's the strength in your veins. It gives you the courage to try again. What is hope? It's the steel in your spine. It takes you to the finish line. Hope is the antidote. Hope has the power to set the prisoner free. It holds in its pocket the master key. Hope reaches out a helping hand. Hope is the road to the promised land. What is hope? What is hope? It's the strength in your veins. It gives you the courage to try again. What is hope? What is hope? It's the steel in your spine. It takes you to the finish line. Hope is the antidote. you the courage to try again. What is hope?
What is hope?
It's the steel in your spine. It takes you to the finish line. Hope is the antidote. What is hope?
What is hope?
It's the strength in your veins. It gives you the courage to try again. What is hope?
What is hope?
It's the steel in your spine. It takes you to the finish line. Hope is the antidote.
Hope is.
Hope is the antidote.
Hope is.
Hope is the antidote.
You know, Louise, when I'm in the hospital next, I want you to come in the door with all those backup singers.
Yeah.
Actually, those backup singers were two of us.
Oh, double tracked? Or
Yeah, we just layered. Me and
Yeah.
my producer. We
Wow.
just layered our voices. Yeah.
well, you could definitely tell you have roots in gospel with that song.
Very inspiring.
And it's cool to have a
Thank
song
you.
end with a bass solo.
Yeah,
That's-
yeah.
Just the basic foundation.
Well, I wanted to just leave people with just to contemplate, think
Yeah.
about it. I wrote that song during COVID. Well, the whole album I wrote during COVID. And that song, like we had just talked about, came from one of the questions we asked as chaplains at the hospital. What gives you hope?
Right.
And so I got thinking about it. And
So you're ready to answer your own question with your song.
well, I really wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Louise, what's your website?
Louise Cappy Music.com.
That's LOUISECAPPI music.com.
Right. You got it.
Thanks, Louise.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful.
And now, a few minutes with architecture critic Louisa Whitmore, one of only 8 TikTok accounts I follow, because really, is there time for more than that?
Hi, I'm Louisa Whitmore, and today I want to talk about one of the most iconic houses in Los Angeles, the Stahl House. And the reason it's so iconic is not because of how architecturally significant it is, though it definitely is architecturally significant. It's actually because of how famous the house is. The Stahl House has been in so many movies and TV shows that I can almost guarantee you'd recognize it upon sight. For example, it played the role of the house where Tim Allen meets those aliens in Galaxy Quest. Its location atop a tall hill overlooking Los Angeles has made it iconic as a symbol of Hollywood wealth and stature. The idea for the house came from Clarence, or Buck, Stahl and his wife Carlotta. They bought the land in 1954 for $13,500, which would be around $150,000 today. Buck came up with some initial ideas and designs. He had the overarching vision of a flat-roofed glass and steel home set into the hill over LA. However, by 1957, it was sort of out of their reach, so they hired Pierre Koenig to take over the design, and the home was completed in 1959. It, like the Eames House, also in Los Angeles, was part of Arts and Architecture magazine's Case Study Home program, where architects were provided funding to build modernist homes that could then be used as an example for the construction of other homes. These houses were built with easily accessible materials and easily replicable designs. Something that is often highlighted about the home is that, despite how famous and iconic it is, nobody famous has ever lived in it. The Stahl House actually first came to national attention after it was completed in 1960, when a photo of it taken by Julius Schulman was published. The photo depicted 2 women sitting inside the Stahl House with its floor-to-ceiling windows framing the whole of Los Angeles lit up at night. But the interesting thing to me about the photo is that the women aren't looking out at LA. They're talking to each other, and they're spaced far apart, and it's clear to the viewer how perfect they are to inhabit that space. Your eye, or at least mine, I can say for sure, is drawn to the house and its open design. The interior of the house has changed a lot over time, whether it's been redesigned by the stalls or changed by set decorators, but the exterior is still the same. And in my mind, what is inside the house doesn't matter as much as the exterior. As long as the steel frame and glass walls remain, the home will remain an LA icon. Honestly, I think the interior can change as much as needed to reflect the changing culture and style of Hollywood, and that makes this home completely timeless.
Thanks for listening. U.S. Modernist Radio is underwritten by Diane Bald and the Budman family, restoring significant architecture in Toronto, Los Angeles, Malibu, and Palm Springs. And by modernist realtor Angela Roll. Okay, Tom, take us out.
Visit usmodernist.org's massive archives to listen to past shows, discover documentation of 15,000 significant modernist houses, and access 4 million pages of classic 20th century architecture magazines. U.S. Modernist Radio is produced by Soundtracks Recording Studios in Raleigh, North Carolina. Our theme song was performed by George Smart and Robinson Earl. Kelly Policelli handled the guest research this week as rogue archivist Carrie Cesarino is still wrestling with some IT issues for a new U.S. Modernist project. U.S. Modernist Radio is a production of Modernist Archive Incorporated, a nonprofit educational archive for the documentation, preservation, and promotion of modernist residential design. I'm Tom Guile. George and I will be back soon with another media influencer edition of U.S. Modernist Radio. Unless you want to find George sooner, he's Mr. Modernism, that's all one phrase, on TikTok. He checks it at a minimum every 3 weeks.